So good morning. Can you hear me well? Yeah, thank you. We have to use the microphone because all the sessions are recorded. So even if you have some questions, just wait. I will come with the microphone so you can be recorded.
The microphone is not working.
It's not working.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I will probably keep it like that. Yeah. I will hold it like this. So good morning. Thank you for coming. Today's workshop is called "What's the Plan?" We should present, me, Christian, and Thor. We should present the objectives, results from the Plan for Business project, which we finished in March this year. It was a 2 years project. And I will go with the short introduction. Then Christian will present some details about data integration and harmonization. Then I will present some final applications for users based on the integrated data. And then Thor will present some exploitation and sustainability plans for the platform. So that's what I just said, the outline of this workshop, and if you have any questions, just feel free to ask immediately. Don't wait until the end. The main aim of the project was to develop a platform that can serve to users as a catalog of spatial planning data, and also enable user to integrate the data within the platform and process them and analyze them. So it's kind of complex platform combining data from various sources, as I will explain later what spatial planning data we were integrating. In the objectives in more detail, so first of all, to develop the platform and provide the platform to users. Then it's working with data, so data integration, harmonization, that Christian will speak about later. Then data collection, which was quite a huge task because not all data are available. If I speak about spatial plans or urban plans of cities and villages. Then provide a set of applications that I will show later, and also to create a business model. We should use the results in commercial applications, and that Thor will brief about later. The full title of the project, 24 months, and it was funded or co-funded by the FP7 program. There were 6 partners. The coordination was by Fraunhofer from Darmstadt, Fraunhofer IGD. Then there were 2 Czech partners, our University of West Bohemia, then Help Service Remote Sensing, International Society of City and Regional Planners, ISOCARP, and Geosystems Polska and Avinet from Norway. This is kind of overview of the platform, the main features. So we have on the right hand side heterogeneous data sources coming from various places, from national data sources, from local data sources. And the platform does the integration, harmonization of data, stores the data in various formats and forms, and it enables some kind of analysis. And user have access to data. He can do analysis of data, and he can also provide the integration. So also data providers can feed the platform with their data. This is a more detailed schema of the architecture. So on the left side you have the user view, the client layer, There is the plan integrator that Christian will talk about later. Then you have the intermediate level where there is the data integration engine and analysis engine and access to some APIs. And the right-hand side part is the storage layer. We stored all the data in the primary pool storage, and then we had also secondary data pool storage, which was featured for a certain type of analysis. And my last slide is about what we understand under the term spatial planning data. So it's not only land use as defined by the INSPIRE directive, which is the current and future land use, but also we included themes such as flood areas, protected sites, transport network, cadastre parcels, which are very important for any kind of application related to spatial planning, and also statistical data. So some, let's say, non-spatial data. So we combine spatial and non-spatial data. So this is just for the introduction. What is it? What was the project about? And more details now you will hear from Christian, then from me about the applications, and Thor about the exploitation. So if I can give floor to Christian. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask, please. Mm-hmm.
Yes, good morning also from my side. So I will talk about the details that we developed for the Plan for Business Plan Integrator, as Thomas mentioned already. So the outcomes of the Plan for Business project were actually three parts, which is the business model, the platform, where the Plan Integrator is a part of and a component of, and also the data acquisition process. And to give you also a short overview and where the integration engine and the plan integrator is a component of. This is an abstract figure of the Plan for Business platform. So on the left-hand side, we have the integration engine, where we integrate, harmonize, and feed the spatial plans, the urban plans, to the storage engine. The storage engine is in the middle, and the analysis engine visualizes and analyzes the spatial plans data and also combines the several types of data. So as I said before, I will focus more on the left part. Our data integration strategy is like that we had a source schema, and we perform a schema mapping on the source schema, which are several types of spatial plans. So we had spatial plans from different regions, from Europe. We had a pretty good coverage of Norway. We had a pretty good coverage of Ireland, of Poland, several plans from Germany, from France. And they all had different types of source schemas. So what we did, we orientated on the INSPIRE specification on land use and created some kind of sub-scheme of this Inspire specification for land use, where we considered all the attributes that were common for the plans that we got as source data, and that is in that sense Inspire compliant. So we had, for example, the Inspire ID metadata such as the valid2 attribute. This circle over here is the land use classification, which we also have on the left-hand side. And the Inspire specification on land use talks about the Hilux specification, the Hilux classification. And we also have the geometrical attribute, the extent, and the geometry of the spatial feature. The schema mapping process heavily relies on the software stack Hail. That software has been developed in another project, in the Humboldt project, and is later on presented in the SMEspire workshop in more detail. So what Hail is able to do is it is able to create mapping instructions, mapping cells from source attributes and source entity types to the target attributes and target entity types, and also perform these reclassifications that we needed for the land use classification. So retypization, coordinate transformation, the value formatting, and the reclassifications has been done based on the Hail software stack. For the data integration, we went for two solutions. The one is that we had developed a client for the platform, a component for the platform, and the first solution was that that the transformation was done on the server side, where we had to upload the source data, configure the mapping project, and so on. And the other solution that we went for later was that the transformation, the data transformation, was performed and executed on the desktop. So that the transformed data only needed to be uploaded to the portal, and that had several advantages, which I will talk about later. So in general, the data integration process and the data integration component looks like this. This is now for the first solution. The first thing that we need to do is we upload the source data. We add several attributes like metadata, and a very important and necessary attribute was the license. So whether we or the portal is allowed to export the data, for example, as WMS or even as RSS feeds. We had to specify, of course, the spatial reference systems if it cannot be detected automatically, and then the source data is uploaded. The integration engine now pre-configures a template for that for a mapping project that can be performed and created in Hail. So this template is then downloaded from the platform, and the step-by-step creation of the mapping cells and creation of the mapping instructions is then performed in Hail on the desktop application. So again, on the left-hand side, there is the source schema. In the middle, there is the target schema, and on the right-hand side, there is the huge set of mapping cells. So Hail is not only able to create a schema mapping to one single schema, but it's very generic. So you can load several XML schemas, or since recently also a connection to a PostgreSQL database, for example, or shapefiles, CSV files, and that kind. So if then the mapping project is created and the cells are all created, we also need to do this reclassification. So we need to translate the source data land use codes to the target land use classification, the Hilux classification. This is done and stored in a mapping table, a CSV file, for example, and then integrated and loaded into Hail and into the mapping project. Once the mapping project is finished, it can then be uploaded and is transformed online by the plan integrator component. And you, on the one hand, receive feedback in Hail, but the data and the transformed data is validated as well at the plan integrator component. And if one or more geometrical geo features are not valid, the whole data set is simply not just transformed, but a error message occurs, which gives hint which kind of geo feature is error prone. Yeah, so this is the transformation window I just mentioned. Then what we recognized later and during the spatial plans collection process is that data providers do often not want to give the source data away. So we developed this solution, a parallel solution, where the upload of the source data and the creation, for example, of a data license is not necessary for the source data. It is necessary for the transformed data, so we need to know what we can do with the transformed data, but we do not have to redundantly upload the source data or even store the source data redundantly. And another advantage is the data management from the data provider side. So if the data providers are storing their data, for example, in a database, in a PostgreSQL database and PostGIS, you're then able to connect directly with the Hail Plan for Business edition to the PostGIS database, and you do not need to export this data and upload it somehow. But you can directly connect to the plan integrator component and then upload the transformed data. The transformed data is then also validated in the plan integrator, and if there's some errors, you give a notice. This Hail Plan for Business edition is and there is a detailed guide integrated that guides through the mapping process. So it can be seen here on the right hand side, where each attribute and each object type of the target schema is explained, and user is guided through this process to make the schema mapping creation process as easy as possible. And then the summary of the data integration process, what we did in the project again and again and again for the plan integration. As mentioned at the start, we of course had to analyze the structure of the spatial plan data set. We needed to identify the completeness of the source data and gather several information from secondary documents, such as PDF files, for example, or metadata, HTML websites, where additional information could be found to the source data. Ensure the proper licensing, which we identified was very necessary. Specify the land use classification, a mapping as a mapping table, and then create the schema mapping with a Hail plan for Business Edition. As soon as the schema mapping in Hail has been developed and finished and stored, it can be executed on the same source schema again and again and again. So if planning data is updated regularly, for example, every year, then the mapping process and the data transformation process can be executed on the fly. Just load in the mapping project, load in the source data, and then go for it. Okay, then now back again. So this is my last slide. Again, the platform. So I talked about the integration engine and how the spatial plans come into the storage engine. How the spatial plans are harmonized and fed into the storage engine. So the storage engine consists not only on spatial plans. So from the plan integrator component view, we focused on these spatial plans to develop a solution how spatial plans can be integrated and harmonized. But the analysis engine, and Thomas will talk about that, combines also other data. So the storage engine does not only consist of the spatial plans, but also about OpenStreetMaps data, for example, data from the European Environment Agency, Eurostat, so statistical data, data from Eurographic, regional statistical data, and this geographical islands, we call them, of the spatial plan data. So I will,
thank you.
If there are no any questions, depending on this. Otherwise, I will head over to you.
If not, I will continue. Thank you, Christian. Take a chair. Okay, so I will focus now on the user applications which can be accessed at this website. It's www.whatstheplan.eu. And if you are not registered, you can access two main applications which we consider as kind of easy to use and for non-experts, not non-GI experts. I will first access the thematic map viewer. This enables access to predefined thematic maps we have created, mainly in Europe. As you zoom in and out and to different areas, the offer of thematic maps is dynamically changing. So if you zoom to entire Europe, you get 61 thematic maps. As soon as you zoom to certain area, the selection is reduced, for example, here to 28. So this is dynamically connected or generated based on the metadata which are stored together with all the spatial plans and all the data which are harmonized or integrated in the platform. So we can see some of the thematic maps They are also dynamic, so if you zoom in, they go into more detail. You can see the legend, and also all the layers are published as WMS, so you can get the WMS address of it and use it in other applications. You can also search, use a filter, so you can search within that. So for example, here you get all the cemeteries in the Czech Republic and their location. Again, you have some legend, and you can visualize them. So this is the thematic map viewer. The other application, which might be more interesting, is location evaluator. There are different levels for the location evaluator. We have the European level and then kind of national levels. And going into more details, in certain countries, currently it works well for the Czech Republic and Germany, because we have we have the biggest coverage of data from these countries. So if you go to Europe, then you have all the European regions, and for each of them you can generate a report. So if I choose the region we are in currently, you can generate it as a HTML page or download as PDF. So now the analysis was performed online, and you get such kind of report. I'll just zoom in so you get a better idea. So you have some basic data about population, some economical factors, location, about demography, structure of agriculture and land and livestock. So you can see how many animals are there. So this is for the regions. If you switch to, for example, the Czech Republic, you can go to different levels of detail, which is the regional level, which is pretty much the same as for the European coverage. Then you can go to the municipality level and also to the building level. So if I go to the municipality level, as soon as you zoom in, the municipalities should appear. So if I generate a report for a municipality, you get a different structure going into more details. Again, some basic information about land use, about facilities, about elections, tourism, and some demography and economical factors. So this is the municipality level. If we switch to the building level, and you can zoom in, you can also change to satellite view. So I will just zoom in, and for each building in the Czech Republic you can generate a report just by selecting the appropriate building and view the report. So again, you get more details if there is elevator or how is it used. This is as a family house when it was completed. Also, the analysis takes into account the flood zones. So if this area can be affected by any type of this of flood, it also calculates the distance to the nearest points of interest, such as cinemas, shops, bus stop. And we have also incorporated some advertisement because, as I said at the beginning, the project was focused on commercialization of the results. So this is selecting some properties for selling through this report, and it's based on the location you select the building from the area. You can also add to the map a thematic map. So, for example, criminality. So you can see a number of, or the percentage of crimes in certain regions. If you go into more details, it goes for municipalities and districts. There are some other thematic maps you can switch on, which can help to evaluate the location, for example, where you want to buy a house or invest to build some factory and so on. So this is the location evaluator. If you sign in, which is for free, you just have to register. You get slightly different menu, and you have 3 more options here, which is one is layer manager, one is map creator, and plan integrator. About the plan integrator, Christian was talking. So that enables user to upload his or her own data sets into the platform, harmonize it based on the Inspire specifications, and also to publish it through OGC services. The layer manager is mainly for, let's say, internal purposes, for managing the data in the platform. So you have some files, data, and layers for publishing. And then you have a map creator, which enables you to create some spatial or thematic maps and share them, store them, and use them in other websites. It enables to connect some OGC services such as WMS, WFS, KML, GML, and you can play with the layers and their physical order, their logical order. So you can create some nice thematic maps and use them and store them locally. The last feature I will talk about is embedding map, which is working currently in the thematic map viewer. So you can select one of the compositions. I will select the spatial plans, which shows like an overview of all the plans we have integrated into the platform. As you can see, most of them are from Ireland, because there is a good source of data. They have all the plans, spatial plans, integrated in one domain, and you can download them and use them for any purposes you want. So we have good coverage there. As one partner was from Poland and he had good connection with the Polish municipalities, we get lots of data from Poland, and also recently data from Norway were released, and we could integrate them into the platform. So if you zoom in to an appropriate level, you get all the spatial plans visualized. And if you, let's say, want to embed this map window into your website, into any HTML website, you can use this embed map function, define the height and width of the window frame, and you can get an iframe code you can put into your website. And how that will look like, we have it on our official project site on the title page, which is planforbusiness.eu. Which is not loading at this moment. Yeah. So on the title page you get this map window, which is again interactive, so you can zoom in, zoom out. You can change or select the layers you want to visualize. So these are kind of the main applications we built on top of this data platform, of all the integrated plans and spatial planning data. As Christian already said, it's not only spatial plans. We integrated mainly the statistical data from Eurostat and other data such as the flood zones and for example cadastre parcels from the Czech Republic, which are actually freely to use, which are available through WFS at this moment. Are there any questions at this moment? If not, then I will give floor to Thor, and he will present the exploitation plan and some future perspectives.
Okay, good morning everybody. That was not this project, no, that was a camel. Let me see. Okay, I'm going to briefly talk about the exploitation of this project, and as the name of the project is Plan for Business, to make some sustainable business is one of the main objectives of the project. But anybody that worked in any European Union funded project, or probably any research and development project in any case, know that whatever you are planning to do after the project is a challenge, and even though you plan to do something sustainable, it's not so easy. However, I don't have very many slides on this. I would try to talk a little bit about it and try to tell how and what type of initiatives that is coming out of this project. As Thomas mentioned, we were 6 partners, very different partners. A couple of research-oriented institutes like University of Pilsen and the Fraunhofer Institute, 3 private companies, HSRS from Czech, Avinet from Norway, and Geosys from Poland, and 1 planning association, Isocarp. And we all have different type of ownership, we have different type of objectives for our businesses. So to make something common in this is a little bit of challenge. The main, let's say, or not the main, but let's say the most important outcome of a sustainable model of this project is what we have called the Plan for All Association. And the reason why we use Plan for All is that was a previous project before Plan for Business, but it also had a focus on harmonizing planning and other data across Europe. So under the leadership of UVB, University of Pilsen, this association is being set up. The current status is still not legal approved, but fortunately it will be a foundation that is operational within a very short time frame. The plan for this is to have some kind of a open data hub accessible, no, let's say more available for well, access to open data. There are so many different places now you can go and select, download your data or utilize them for whatever you would like. You can go OpenStreetMap, you can go to EA, you can go to, in Norway, you can go to the Norwegian Mapping Authority, to the Statistical Bureau, to the environmental agencies. And in every project we are doing exactly the same thing. We start the project by looking around. I find some data there, I find some data here, I find some data there. We download them, we try to harmonize them to put them into some kind of focus for the project we're running. And we're doing that in parallel. So the idea here is to try to be a little bit pragmatic, to make some kind of a hub where different research projects, different commercial projects can access in a structured way that we have already defined. And even though we are looking into the Inspire way of doing it, the Inspire modeling of how to put the data together, we are, since this is not European Commission, we can be pragmatic and we can put it in a way that we believe will suit for the different user perspectives. And if I then look into the business aspect from my company, we are a Norwegian company, mainly making web portals and map solutions for the Norwegian market. So what is our challenge? Well, in Norway we have access to lots of open free data and some that is rather expensive on the more detailed level. But if we want to sell for the Norwegian market applications or services running on European level, that could be for marketing, tourism, investors, etc. Well, we don't know where to find the data. Where do we find and how do we access pan-European data? We can also go and download them from different sources. But for us, this, let's say this hub will and is an important tool for getting access to data outside Norway. And hopefully, well, maybe not so hopeful because we don't want competitors into the Norwegian market. But in worst case, there are some companies that would like to do business utilizing Norwegian data. Well, the hub will be one way for them to access that. Outside this core, HSRS is planning to have a more commercial setup of the hub where we are accessing not open data but commercial available data. When we have a main focus on planning data, and which has already been mentioned too, we got planning data from different type of sources. We got them from Ireland where everything was standardized and harmonized. We could just put 430 planning data sets through a harmonization model and we got them out in an Inspire compliant model. More or less the same with the Norwegian case. While in Poland we had 6, 7 big cities which we got planning data, each with completely different data model, completely different data structure, and where we had to sit on individual plan and see what is the linkage between their coding and the Inspire Hilux coding. And probably the same with Czech. I don't, well, at least that you see the picture. And again, if you look into making it free or open, well, in most cases people don't have a very, let's say, conscious knowledge about this. In Norway we know that the data belongs to the municipalities. We got them from the Norwegian Mapping Authority for a research purpose. Fine, we can only use them for that. But we are not presenting the original planning data. We are presenting them transformed into Hilux and Inspire compliant data, and then we are changing the data. And if we go back to Norwegian Mapping Authority and municipalities, can we distribute this? Well, the answer is we don't know. We don't know yet because this is not original data. So we are not distributing those data. They are fully copyright and closed. But can we use those, let's say, simplified Inspire compliant data? And by the way, Inspire is about simplification. So here in this commercial aspect of it, we are trying to, or HSRS in Czech are trying to make a hub with a combination of the open data and let's say the more closed data where there are different restrictions on. That were 2 business approaches. The third one is Fraunhofer. As a spin-off of the data harmonization tool, Fraunhofer is setting up a commercial setup focusing on the Hail platform and the harmonization aspect of it. I don't know the status about it. If anybody has asked questions, probably they can go to Christian afterwards and ask. But that's also a third spin-off of Plan for Business, the opportunity to use Hail for commercial, for data harmonization. The fourth commercial setup is Geosystem in Poland, which has actually an application which was not shown by Thomas now, because we also have, or they made an application through this project called Tender Search. And Tender Search is utilizing, you saw those nice applications you had where you could see the status of the property, the municipality, what is, how many people are there, what is the planning status, etc. So Geosystem has put this together with, in Poland, I think, this is a little bit far away from what we are doing in Norway because we were not under the beautiful time of communism. But in Poland there is a lot of public land that is being sold out from the local municipalities. I think this is, at least that's what's been described for me. This is the post-communism type of thing. The municipalities have lots of land, they want to sell it out. And they do what they call public tendering on it. And each municipality, they have their own website where they put this out for the tender, and usually there is a few interest people because they know this is happening here, and they go into this website or the local websites and they find it. With the Tender Searcher, they're trying to accumulate this for a large part of Poland so that investors do not need to go into each and every individual municipality to find available properties, but they can find it through a common site. And in the future also include more, let's say, private land, selling of land, but currently it's only these public tenders. So that was the fourth. And then fifth, as I said, already mentioned, my company as a Norwegian company, our business idea is to utilize this hub to primary the Norwegian market, selling them access to European data. And I think that's more or less what we have. And this is, so this is then illustrated here. There will be lots of other potential customers associating to this. The Plan for All Association, there will be an open invitation for other than the partners of this project to join. Thomas can probably elaborate on that if anybody has questions. Of course, Avinet, we don't want competitors, but we're always ready to either compete or partner. Fraunhofer and your Hail investment, I think, that if anybody is interested in some businesses around a harmonization tool, which is very different than FME and much better, correct? Yeah. And Geosystem, unfortunately, they're not here today, but if anybody's interested in the Tender Search, we can make a connection with you and put Shemek in Geosystem. That's what I had to present.
Thank you.
Questions? Or questions at all to the project?
Do the commercial exploitation partners provide an income stream back to the hub to maintain that service?
Mm-hmm. What was the question?
Do the commercial exploitation partners provide an income stream back to the central hub to support this?
This open data hub thing? Yeah, we have more or less committed ourselves in the, let's say, the initial stages of the project to keep it operational. And then in the sustainability, Thomas, what is your thinking about the income for the running it?
There will be few channels for financing the platform, and it will be contributions from other EU projects which will contribute directly with data. So data-oriented projects will provide the data which we will feed in. There will be some sponsors or sponsorship. There will be advertisements that will generate some income to run the platform, because it will be run by Plan for All Association, which is a non-profit organization. So so that's another channel, advertisements. And then for next 3 years, all the Plan for Business partners will provide some in-kind contribution to operate it. And time will show how successful we are and how sustainable it is. Are there any other questions? We have slightly different approach than the Inspire initiative, because we were collecting the data from local or regional national data providers, and we were duplicating the data in our server on our premises, which is different from Inspire, because Inspire just says you have to provide the services, the OGC compliant services, to access the data. But in our case, we would find it quite difficult to analyze the data if they are distributed, and we would access them through WFS. So create such a query such as, I don't know, select all areas which will be in future for residential use and which are not further than 5 kilometers from any European motorway, then it might be a problem in Inspire. So we think that the Inspire principle, are slightly breaked here. But what do you think? Do you have some experience with that? Do you think that the Inspire setup will enable such kind of services, access really to data, or if it's just for discovery of the data and access of particular data sets, but as a kind of harmonized set to query, to analyze, it might be rather difficult, at least from our point of view. So if you have any comments on that or ideas.
I think that what you say there makes sense, that the Inspire portal is a discovery portal, so that you're then writing an application on that, so that the Plan for All platform could at some point decide to regularly search the Inspire portal and see what else it can, find other services, download those data sets and integrate them.
Yeah.
But then you're providing a separate service where you've got cached local copies of the data for that particular application.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. The biggest problem we were facing is the update of data. If we download the data from website, where is it in zip file as a shapefile, for example, then update is rather difficult, because you have to manually go to the website and check if there is a new version. Of course, if it's published through some services, through some interfaces, you can access it directly. If there is any update available, then it's easier. But some of the data we were, let's say, scraping from HTML websites, such as statistical data in the Czech Republic. They are published, they are available, but they are as tables on HTML website.
But as Inspire deadlines come past, more countries will be like Ireland and have all their data standardised in another 10 years or 6 years.
Hopefully in the future there is no sustainable model for this approach. Hopefully in the future there will be some kind of SDI infrastructure that's actually operational that makes this possible. But till then, we think we need this.
Okay. So if there are no other questions, we will conclude the workshop. Thank you for coming, for your attention, and have a good rest of the conference.